Okay, quick disclaimer before we get started. The Blocmates podcast is for entertainment and informational purposes only and does not constitute financial advice. The information and opinions expressed on the podcast are those of the host and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views of Blocmates or its affiliates. Listeners are encouraged to do their own research and consult with a financial advisor before making any investment decisions. Blocmates and its affiliates are not liable for any losses or damages incurred as a result of the reliance on the information or opinions expressed on this podcast.
Good morning. Welcome back to Good Morning Degen with me, Grant and Mike. Morning, fellas. How are we?
All good, all good. How are you doing?
I'm good. Tired again. I feel like it's a recurring.
Always tired. We're actually all right this week. I'm fine.
Mike's going to Dubai on Friday, so that's why he's okay. So
we don't know if that's a bottom signal or a top. Usually it's a bottom signal. So.
I think it's a bottom signal. 100% it's a bottom signal.
We said we'll get Jerry to put on like a massive shot and let Mike step away from the computer, and then everything will just moon. So
I'm the sacrificial lamb.
Yeah, Mike said this to anyone listening to also hold Mike accountable here. He did say that he's going to switch off this week, which we all very much need him to as well. If you see him on CT laughing or talking shit, or if he pops up in any Telegram chat or Discord chat that you're in, just tell him to fuck off, please, from all of us.
Yeah,
get back in stables and shut up.
Yeah, it won't be pissed though, because it's like 20 quid a pint in it. So
it will be. Yeah. We are going to brunch. There's no limit when we're there. So yeah, we've got brunch Saturday, Sunday. So I will be pissed. 4 hours unlimited booze.
Dubai with the ballers. So fellas, all right, this is the first time we've come at this from a new week. Thanks for listening last week on Tuesday and Thursday. So if you know by now, we are going to just kick this off with prices and flows. We tend to look at it obviously over the past 24 hours, but given it's been a few days, we'll try and be as kind of on the money as much as we possibly can. But we've to get straight into it, we've got Bitcoin at 27,270. It's up slightly, 1.5%. You've got ETH at 1,852, again up 2.3. Total market caps in the green at 1.19 trillion. Binance inflows of minus 48 million though in the past 24 hours. What do you think of that one?
Well, it's funny because when I was making the notes before, when you were asleep, it was minus 78 million. It's dropped down slightly. Right. For Binance, it's marginal numbers, but what's funny is over the week it's up 1.08 billion. So over the course of the week, up quite bigly.
Yeah, I guess we've been stuck in a range, haven't we, on Bitcoin? And it looks like, well, I think most people are expecting a squeeze one way or the other. It's like sort of like stuck in a triangle, isn't it? So I think people are expecting a big squeeze one way or another. So we'll just see how that plays out again this week. Right. Obviously with macro pending.
Yeah, want to keep your eye on. And Fear and Greed index is up 2%. 50 still in the neutral camp. So we've set ourselves a challenge to try and get this done in 15 minutes, maybe a little bit over. So we'll blast through because we do promise to give you the short and sweet. So into the biggest winners. So China and Hong Kong is opening its doors on the 1st of June to enable crypto trading again. So we've got CFX, ACH and NEO in the top 10 to mention. Going to hand that one over to you, Grant.
Yeah, I mean it's been looming for a while. You see a lot of people jumping on top of like what they call like the China narrative or the Asian narrative, and pre kind of 2017 and 2018 stuff like that. A lot of large market moves were coming out from that side of the world. So it's interesting to see them getting more positive around the sentiment of crypto after like quite a heavy ban back in like 2020, 2021 and stuff like that. So people are trying to look at, well, what are the most instrumental players that are being talked about and most likely to kind of pick up some steam? So CFX is an obvious one. I think that's just another L1 that people have been looking at. ACH, I think it's kind of a payments infrastructure. And then NEO is effectively, if anyone remembers, the the ICO craze of Neo, like the Chinese Ethereum. So they've been moving. So yeah, it's a funny one. Something to keep a close eye on. I'm not particularly looking at it. I think these assets are pretty liquid. They're on quite obscure exchanges. I don't necessarily want to have large amounts of capital on those exchanges, but they will move. I can imagine into June the 1st, probably sell off after, and then potentially move after that, depending on what happens. But it's strange, isn't it? People think, because these assets are based and being built in Asia, it means that they should bump. It's a bit backwards, really.
Yeah, it's weird that, isn't it? They're sort of doing a bit of a 180 after all the news that we've seen in the last few years. I wonder, why do you think that is? I mean, who the hell can predict what they're up to or thinking at any point in time? But it's odd, isn't it?
I think it's progression, though, isn't it? In terms of a lot of where you see stifling innovation in the US, a lot of other countries have sort of changed the tune and are inviting innovation. And again, it's a money earner, isn't it? It's a revenue stream for your country in terms of what's the term? In terms of your overall revenue for your country. So why would you not invite it? I just think, again, the US have sort of going to get left holding the bag with innovation wise if they don't change the stance soon. Whilst the countries that do have changed the stance or are changing the stance are going to reap the benefits over the next few years, really, where people consider their country as a place to start the business. So I think it's as simple as that. I think it's going to be a bit quite turbulent in terms of regulation across the board, and the EU, even look at what they're doing now. It's just like the countries that have a more positive stance. Again, it's all about this: who's the superpower, who's got the ability to adapt and overcome. And again, the Western powers are pretty crap at it at the moment, aren't they? So
yeah, we know a lot of teams that were US based or even Europe based, and they're kind of up in sticks and moving. So as Mike was saying, if you're not going to be accommodating for innovation, people are just gonna. It doesn't matter. It's a completely global system. People aren't going to wait around for you to get your shit together. So they'll come back with the tails between the legs like they always do. So
hopefully, OKX. We want to talk about OKX and the OKB token.
Yeah, I mean it's not up dramatically, but I think it's kind of one to keep an eye on. It always seems to move with this basket of assets because they're predominantly based out in Asia. I've seen been to the offices in Singapore. Very, very, very impressive. I think they've got their shit together, and I also think they're probably in the running for potential regulatory license in Hong Kong or even further afield into China when that all opens up, and that's kind of probably where the speculation around that is coming in at the minute. But just want to kind of keep an eye on, and potentially any other maybe tier 2, tier 3 exchanges that might get granted regulatory approval over those parts of the world as well.
Yeah, go on, Mike.
It's just funny, isn't it, how we were talking about it last week with another lad, and it's been around for some time, OKX, in terms of it was named something completely, well, not slightly different back then. What was it? OK Coin or something? It was before my time, anyways. Well, it was early, 2015 or whatever, when we were speaking to one of the lads about it. But it's sort of the poster boy at the moment, isn't it, in terms of commercial? We were just saying about Manchester City, and it's obviously plastered all over, and even their commercial push in terms of marketing and stuff like that seems to be quite moving forward with that compared to other exchanges, like centralized exchanges that are sort of sitting in the background or pivoting and stuff like that at the moment. So it's quite they've got quite a unique position at the moment, I think.
Their marketing, I know you're all over it, and you absolutely love it. Their marketing, their PR, the way they present themselves is like a traditional fintech app. Top tier, so.
Which is what you need, really. I mean, I've geeked out a little bit over it. I know Binance have sort of dipped a toe in with professional sport and stuff, but you can tell that they've kind of just thrown a bit of money at it and not really pursued it that much. We obviously all know that FTX were heavy on that kind of thing, but OKX in particular, I do think that they're doing a really sick job of that kind of getting in the face of retail, which is what we all know is needed. So yeah, shout out OKX there. I do like that. And then
you're only doing that because you want some Man City tickets.
I do want some Man City tickets.
We also want them, yeah.
I do, yeah. So I have been blowing up the DMs of the lads at OKX for a while now. So if you are listening to this, you did promise me that as well. Naming no names, by the way. Probably just fucked it saying that on the pub, but never mind. And then
we'll get there next year.
We will. We'll go to the what Grand Prix out your side of the world? Singapore.
Singapore Grand Prix, yeah.
Oh, there's another one you could get us on if you want fancy that, lads. So yeah, might tag you in this. And then we mentioned Render last week, which still appears very strong.
Yeah, it's, as I said, I know I have my kind of what's the word? I know I can kind of see through what this asset is, but I'm still playing it anyway. It's like, do you want to be all high and mighty, or do you want to make a little bit of money? And I think this is how Render's kind of playing out. But I won't get too much into kind of the whole idea and thesis behind that. But if you want to check the episode two should kind of fill you in like the whole idea around why we think that's moving, where I think that'll probably potentially continue to move. So check that one out.
And then another one which is interesting, we talked about Apple last week, and they just seem to be kind of pushing it even further. So you've got Stefan and GMT, which is a move to earn project on Solana, has integrated Apple Pay. So you can kind of allows for in-app purchases of NFTs and in-game app purchases, which is cool to see. Again, just talking about OKX and retail adoption and stuff. This is more good signs, right?
I think so. Like Steppen was a funny one because some of like the pitch decks that we see day in day out, I always say that, like I always bring this Steppen up as an example. If we'd have seen that deck, we'd have kind of laughed it out the room because it was like move to earn. It just sounds fucking stupid, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But like I know of a certain person who give them like a couple of million for their seed round, and I think the thing did like 1,000 decks or some shit at the top. So obviously he's sitting pretty. So it's kind of one of those obscure. It was one of those obscure players that everyone kind of written off, but because it was so stupid, like the whole move to earn concept, it kind of cut through a little bit, and people were actually using it. The in-app purchases. On one hand, I'm kind of happy Apple. Definitely taking a more positive stance and starting to lift the guardrails up there, I think, for crypto and Web3 projects that want to integrate. The only issue is like Apple and Apple Store and the Google Store, they still have their roughly 30% tax on in-app purchases. So that like Steppen aren't going to eat that. It's gonna get passed on to the end user who purchases it. The other issue is the Coinbase marketplace, which they spent God knows how much money, and the FTX NFT marketplace, which they also spent a fucking fortune on, they never really took off because as soon as you start denominating how much NFTs cost in dollar values, people are just like, there's no fucking way I'm putting my details in here to purchase this picture of a fucking sneaker in the term of a step in it. But when it's in ETH, like 1 ETH is 1 ETH, right? So you don't give a fuck.
What 1 ETH or 2 grand? Like you take the pick.
Man, talk about like when business psychology and pricing and stuff. If that isn't like the absolute best example of that ever, then I don't know what is.
But there's also like I was reading the other day, and there's also like the psychology behind like the dynamics of price as well, and why people say like, I don't know, I guess when you're new to the space and people go, oh, I can buy, I don't know, some X token for 0.003 pence, and what if it hits what if it hits $1? And there's a whole like psychological element behind that in terms of why people go for small price points and why like shit coins are priced at like, oh, I've got 25 billion Pepe.
That's why I first bought XIP. That's literally why I first
Exactly.
bought it was like a unit cost buyers. That was really, really small compared to like Bitcoin and Ethereum.
I feel like that's one of the first things you learn. Like the whole, you know what I mean?
MCAPs are never like, that's what I mean. Trying to explain MCAPs to the new entrant sometimes is difficult.
We've all been there, Mike. No one's judging. Biggest losers. So there actually aren't many amazing projects that are that down, apart from obviously the meme coin sell-offs, which is good, but nothing that we want to massively touch on.
No, it seems
pretty,
nothing like noteworthy of a reason why they would be down, regardless. So it's,
everything that is down has been down for some time now. Like, like I say, I've got in the notes that my bags are down. So yeah, but apart from that, everything it's been down. It's just everything's just sat doing nothing at the moment. There's no volume. There's no volume anywhere really. Like you've got a couple of unicorns, haven't you? Like we mentioned last week, like LBR, that's up massively. You've got it, but then in terms of where everything is, it's either not doing anything, and you need to poke a stick at it, or it's a bit of a unique project that's had a bit of a volume go through it. So not much to report.
Give us something. Something.
Just please do something.
Right. So news. Let's rattle through it. Decentralized exchanges volumes have reached an all-time high compared to centralized exchanges. Let's cover that one off quickly.
Yeah, I think if anyone's like a long-term like Blockmates reader from like the article standpoint, there's some really early articles where I've said this like chasm will continue to be filled effectively. And when I was reporting, I think the numbers were like 4 or 5%. So like DEX volume compared to centralized exchange volume was like 4 or 5%. And I was like, this is amazing. I wonder what happens one day when like it slowly converges. And now you start to see it. But on the flip side, like you've got to kind of read in between what's actually happening here. Like the vast majority of volume over the past couple of weeks has came from complete meme coin mania and artificial volumes, if you can call it that, from Jared's MEV bot, which was the largest Ethereum gas guzzler, more so than even Arbitrum itself. So it looks good, but if you kind of dig into why it is happening, then I don't know if it's technically, but it's not organic volume, is it? So
yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah. Sorry, mate, I paused there. I thought you were going to say something. And then one of the final things that we want to talk about is don't we love a good AWOL? We don't. But I'll go on. I'll let you guys.
I don't know if you've seen this, but it was so Evmos is a L1 built on Cosmos, but it's it was the first kind of EVM compatible chain, so you could effectively port over your EVM apps onto the Cosmos. So it's like touted as this like amazing new prospect in the Cosmos ecosystem. I've got my own kind of thoughts about Cosmos ecosystem, but I'll leave it. We don't have enough time to get into that. So they raised like 27 million last year, which is fucking crazy because you're seeing projects now struggle to get like 1 million, 2 million over the line, 3 million over the line, stuff like that. And what's happened recently is one of the founders who had considerable large amount of the supply that is still vesting is taken his vested tokens and began to sell them. So the token's down 54% since the beginning of May. But it just brings into contention if that was in a traditional world and you had stock options and they were vesting and you could do them on event based. So if you're sticking around at the company for X amount of time, or if you're hitting these KPIs and shit like that, then you can obviously have the option to vest your shares or stock options or whatever, however have you. But a lot of the stuff in crypto is basically time vested, so it doesn't necessarily matter what happens once it's programmed in. You're kind of stuck with the inevitable outcome. So if you continue to sell, it's going to be pretty brutal, to be fair. But
wasn't it a former founder as well? Hasn't he left?
Yeah, he's left. He's left now. It'd be even funnier if he hadn't left.
So he's left and then thought, fuck it,
Fuck
I
it.
need some money.
Secure the bag.
He's probably down bad as well, and he's going, God, I need to
Yeah.
replenish my funds.
That Mr.
Yeah.
Bean meme where he's driving off, just going, giving it some. Have that. Yeah. The last thing just to call out is to sign up to the newsletter. Please do that. Jump onto Dan's Twitter. He's always going on about it anyway, and that's because it's good, because we give you it twice a week, and a lot of the stuff that we cover on this podcast is just in a different format, basically a different medium. So the numbers are constantly growing in that, which is a good sign. It means we're clearly doing something right. So we will link that as well in the tweet, just for anyone that wants to sign up to the newsletter. But is there anything else, lads, just to finish on that?
No, like I say, we cover probably a lot more in that newsletter as well. So if you're looking for some more info on what's the latest news for the week, and like token wise, alpha wise, then it's worth taking a look. But cheers, thanks again.
Sweet. 20 and out.
All right, take it easy.